Welcome back, welcome one, welcome all to the Control Your Epps-Perience podcast episode, is this 21? Yeah, 21. I am the namesake, Alan Epps, your host. Thankful to be back here again on a Sunday evening. You would think I would stop doing this to myself, but this time it is not my fault. My back is currently in all states of disarray. I had to help my cousin move yesterday, and her deep freezer had a disagreement with my lower back. So now I'm currently sitting through pain, but through the wire like Kanye and, Booby Miles, I'm going to play through it. Yeah, pray for your kid. Pray for your boy. I want to start this off, first and foremost, giving a sincere rest in heaven, go with God, rest in power to the incomparable, immortal Cicely Tyson. Anybody black knows who Cicely Tyson is. She's been in so many iconic roles just as a supporting actress she's been acting longer than most of us have been alive. All of us have been alive for the most part. She died at 96 years of regality and grace. Not exactly sure how she passed. I didn't really go into that. I was just genuinely taken aback, like I lost a member of my family, like a great aunt or something like that. But I know she lived a full life. She worked right up until, now. I saw a meme blaming Tyler Perry for not letting her rest, but honestly, we've seen this with older people in your life where they retire and they get bored and then they pass. That's why you see so many old people taking these jobs at Walmart being greeted. Well, it used to be just a thing to do. Now, because retirement's in the market and people fleecing old people, they actually have to go work. But I firmly believe doing what she loved kept her young, no matter how old she got. And she left everything here on the table. She didn't keep anything on the table. She played everything she had. She lived a well fulfilled life, and her presence will not soon be forgotten. And she was a soror of the illustrious Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So shout out to the good Reds, the true Reds. Long may her legacy and her memory live. Moving on into moral, I won't say ephemeral, but just existential normal stuff. Football. It's the Pro Bowl, so I didn't really watch anything. I don't watch the Pro Bowl anymore. I think its relevance pretty much died out to the late 90s, early 2000s. And of course the pandemic, who cares? But there was some major football news. First of all, I forgot to go over this last week when I was talking about the championship games because I was just overwhelmed by how much great football we got to watch. But Trey Songz got into a fight at the Chiefs game, so they had people at the Chiefs game, but they had them socially distanced. I'm sure they closed off the private booths and stuff. That's the only reason why he was down in the area where normal people were. But Trey Songz got into a fight with a cop, and according to the police, he was refusing to wear his mask in compliance with their, policy for COVID prevention, and they were asking him to leave. He refused, and then the altercation broke out. From the video that I saw, it started once he was already being accosted by the police, so we don't know what happened before that, but once the start of the video happened, he didn't have his mask on. But numerous fans have evidently come forward saying that he had his mask on. He's not sure why they started messing with him, so I'm sure that'll come out eventually. But he got arrested, he made bond, he got out. But from the video that I saw, Trey was fed up, and Trey put this man in the freaking guillotine. For those of you who don't watch the MMA, that's when what normal people might call a headlock, but headlock just kind of refers to you holding somebody around their head or neck. The guillotine is when you're starting to try to choke their asses out. So you squeeze and then you lifting up, thereby pinching off their airway and even the carotid artery. So that you don't need too long to knock somebody out with that. And he almost knocked that cop out, but the other cops were in there. And what's crazy though, don't try this at home because I'm sure they knew exactly who they were talking to, and the fact that this was at an NFL stadium, and I'm sure the NFL has told those cops under no circumstances you to shoot anybody in our fucking. If you shoot somebody in our stadium, that means one or more of you have already been shot. Do not shoot anybody in our fucking stadiums. I'm sure. That's the only reason Trigger was able to walk away from this, being a multimillionaire and in the NFL stadium. But evidently, this ain't his first time wilding with some cops. Like, evidently, there was a concert way back. Where he was singing, but then he was supposed to get off so Chris Brown could come on, but he didn't want to get off, so then security and the police tried to get him off, and he threw bottles at him, and some other shit. And some other people who follow Trey a lot more extensively than I do have said that there were some other incidents with him getting into it with law enforcement and or security. So, I guess, Trey about that action would appear. Everybody thinks these R&B niggas are soft, and which is funny though because we seen this shit with Chris Brown talking about he gonna fight Soldier Boy and then the boxing and everything like that. And yeah, I mean a lot of these motherfuckers got money and connections. They link up with these boxers. They learn how to train. They, but it's exercising them. They ain't about no combat sports. But evidently this nigga be throwing hands, and it's crazy though because I brought this up just trying to laugh at the incident, and then everybody started bringing up these rumors about him being gay that I guess have been going around for years. I don't follow niggas. Like I'm not deep into gossip, and let alone men. Like I mean, if I want to hear something, it's about Riri or something. Like what I give a shit about Trey and them. For what? The only other rumors I heard about just by virtue of dealing with baddies in the DMV area is that Trey be fucking hoes. So it is what it is. But evidently, a widespread rumor, at least especially around the DMV area, is that he's bisexual, which, again, I don't give a shit if he is or not. I'm just speaking to the fact that I had no idea that this was going on. And then, like, a photo had popped up, evidently, that had got shared years ago that looks like Trey's kissing some dude. But then the girls were talking about that's not Trey. His eyebrows don't match. Which I don't fucking know. But I did not know that was a thing. People really think that this man was bisexual or gay. So it just... and then when I heard it, I thought, oh, y'all think all the singing niggas are soft like that. But who knows? Who cares? But evidently I got dragged for bringing it up because I was genuinely surprised. Like, who knew? And more current football news, though, like I said, the game didn't really mean anything to me. But the main headline right now is this trade between the LA Rams and the Detroit Lions, in which Jared Goff, the starting quarterback for the Rams, is now going to the Lions in exchange for Matthew Stafford, their former franchise quarterback, who is in his, I think he's going into his 11th season, 11th or 12th, one of them. But he's no spring chicken. I mean, I guess he's got more miles left to go, but he's not a new guy. I don't know how long they intend to keep him. And on top of that, the Rams are getting a shit ton of picks. So hold on, let me look into this shit. So the Rams sent Goff their 2021 third round pick and their 2022 first round pick and their 2023 first round pick. So 2 first round picks and a third round pick to the Lions for Stafford. So in my mind, I feel like the Lions got over on this because what? You know what I mean? Like I don't understand this one. Well, no, I take that back. I understand it. I feel like this trade only happens because of the success that Tom Brady has had in Tampa Bay, where the Rams feel like they're just a step away from being Super Bowl winners, which you can make that argument, and the inconsistency in the offense and at the quarterback position has been what's held them back. For a while, they had a doomsday defense, and now their defense is just, it's not oppressive, but it is no slouch. But a lot of times they get exposed because they're on the field most of the time because the offense is either not controlling the clock or not scoring points to keep pace. So the defense constantly has to go out there and make a stop. I actually am one of the few people who like Jared Goff, but I think Jared Goff is not like necessarily one of those quarterbacks who is going to take over a game by himself. I feel like he's one of the top tier game managers where if you put him in positions to be successful, more often than not, he will be successful. He has the arm to make every throw on there. Like there's no throw that he can't make, and his accuracy is directly tied to how comfortable he is. Comfortable in game script and comfortable with not getting whacked just like any other quarterback. It's once you start introducing the things that you want your franchise quarterback to be able to overcome, like lines breaking down, that he falls apart. And two, let's not forget that even though his current coach, well, the coach that he had in the Rams, was considered like a young prodigy and everything like that, and there were times where he made Jared Goff, he put Jared in those positions and they just looked like they were unstoppable. There were times where he failed to adjust, knowing what he had at quarterback. He just said, okay, well, I'm going to do this, and my offense is great, so run it. And if it doesn't run, we didn't execute, which is cool. I mean, at the end of the day, the players have to do, they have to play. A coach can't do it, but at the same time, great coaches adjust, especially when they know their quarterback, that's not really the strength of his game adjustment. He'll do what you tell him to the best of his ability. That said, now Coach McVay is getting Matthew Stafford, who for the longest time is been the only bright spot in Detroit. Now, obviously, when he had Megatron, Matty's numbers were insane because you're throwing a fucking Megatron. But Matty still continued to be productive even without Calvin. And I never really liked him coming. I'll take it back. I didn't think he was a superstar or anything. I liked him as a quarterback coming out of Georgia, but everybody acted like he was just going to be the next guy. And I think that was mostly because the draft that he was coming out in didn't really have any quarterback competition. He was so head and shoulders above everybody else in that quarterback class that I felt like he benefited from just being coming out at the right time. And people were just acting like he was a project. He came from Georgia, a pro style offense, and he had a cannon. Like I'm not saying that he didn't have all of that, but having been watching SEC football, being an Auburn fan, he didn't. And some of the major losses that Georgia took with Matthew Stafford throwing the ball, I was just like, all right. I mean, he's good, but he got signed to some insane contract, which again, he was the only real quarterback head and shoulders out of that draft, and he went to the Lions. And the Lions are like one of those franchises that can't do right, and like so many of those franchises, they think their quarterback is just going to automatically right the ship no matter who else is on their fucking team. Hold on, let me see. 2009 draft class quarterbacks. Let's see who went out. So you had Matt Stafford as the number one quarterback who went, and then after him was Mark Sanchez. Now, again, I was a fan of Mark Sanchez. I think that he needed to go to very specific programs, and he was good until he lost his fucking confidence. The butt fumble, and I think something happened to his arm. Like he was never seen when he came back. But he was a gunslinger. That's what I liked about him. But from Matt Stafford, just the measurables coming out of Georgia, to Mark Sanchez with the flash in the pan. Then you had Josh Freeman, Nate Davis, Red Bomar, Tom Brandstater. Like, y'all don't know these fools' names. So that's what I'm saying. Stafford just benefited from being the only top quarterback with a pedigree. USC quarterbacks have their reputation, but I like Mark because unlike the other USC guys like Barkley and everybody who ended up fizzling, Mark was a mobile guy and he was fearless. And people actually liked him, like playing with him. So I thought Mark would do well. Sending him to the fucking Jets, yeah, no, whatever. But since then, at least Matt Stafford has proven to be a warrior. He played through like a collarbone. I'll never forget that game. They broke his collarbone. He threw a touchdown and let it drive with his left arm dangling. He's a player's player, you know what I mean? And he's got a cannon still, and he's not allowed to let it fly. And I would like to see him get to a team that can get him at least a shot at being relevant in the postseason and a shot at a Super Bowl. So you factor that in, where Tampa Bay for the longest time had a pretty decent defense and even offensive tools, but with Jameis Winston, as much as he produced on offense, he gave the other team their offense. So, yeah, I like to see that. Matt Stafford goes into a situation where he's got three capable receivers, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and who's the other Bama? Rams depth chart. There's another receiver. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. There was another dude who came up. Oh, he must have got cut. Oh, but they got Tyler Higbee, who's an up-and-coming tight end too. So I like what's coming out of that offense. I think now with and they gave up their third round pick. So now with Matt Stafford, they can go and rebuild at the running back position. Well, no, that's stacked because Cam Akers pretty much took that over. So yeah, they can actually go get linemen. They can go. I think the Rams are in a decent position with this trade, and I hope so. They better make it worth it because they're going to be working from a deficit for the next two drafts. So we'll see. Well, I really don't give a fuck. I'm not a Rams fan, but just from the state of the fan. Now, the flip side, what is the Lions' outlook with getting Jared Goff? I think the Lions are going to be the Lions again. It really just the best thing you can hope for is to draft well and start building a team and just hold out with Jared Goff. This doesn't turn them into a contender. And with their new coach, who was a former tight end for the Cowboys, and it's his head coaching debut, so who knows what he knows, but he's not a magician. Jared Goff is not just going to make madness happen. And with Kenny Galladay as a top receiver, I don't see the Lions doing shit. In fact, I see Jared Goff probably getting hurt and forcing them to draft another quarterback. I I don't know what the Lions draft position is right now. Lions draft position 2021. They got number 7. There's quite a few quarterbacks, I think, coming out this year, but I don't think they'll waste it on a quarterback. Yeah. So, who knows? It's the Lions. But they definitely they better make something happen with those draft picks. I don't think Goff is the upside of this so much as getting the draft picks from Matt Stafford. That's the real steal. So, who knows? In other news, so there is a police chief out in Wisconsin who has now banned thin blue line imagery because, in her opinion, it has been co-opted by extremists. And for those of you who don't know what the thin blue line is, you'll see like those American flags with one of the stripes will be blue, or sometimes you'll see a bumper sticker with just like what looks like a flag, maybe without the stars, but it'll just be like a black band, a blue band, a black band. And historically what that meant was when police officers would show solidarity with each other, particularly after losing an officer in the line of duty. And it wouldn't necessarily just be at that officer's department. It'd be like nationwide, because I'm sure there's like a forum or something where they do after-action reports of police shootings or fatalities and stuff like that. 1, so that other people can learn from the blood that was shed, but then 2, just, solidarity from the police unions and stuff like that. Well, since then, of course, just like anything else, the Punisher skull and everything, it has been used as a shut the fuck up to black people, because in response to Black Lives Mattering, the thin blue line turned into Blue Lives Matter. And at no time in this country has there been a question as to whether or not police lives matter. You kill a cop, you're going to get executed, assuming that those cops don't fucking murder you in the street before they arrest you, and they're going to get away with it anyway, right or wrong. There's capital punishment is the crime for killing a cop, for even thinking about killing a cop. For killing a cop dog, you do jail, because that's an officer. So since when has police lives not mattered? No, because we're demanding accountability and not blanket, okay, well, they did everything right, nothing to see here, or we don't stand for them clearing themselves of wrongdoing. Now suddenly it's inconvenient to be a police officer. Suddenly it's the most hardest job ever. And again, I don't negate the stresses and very real, rigors of being a cop, the dangers involved, but you knew that before you signed up. That's not an excuse to be, operating carte blanche and feeling like you're beyond reproach. But good on this woman right here. She's trying to affect the culture of policing, and I'm sure it's made her no fans with the police union and all other rather organizations, but she just flat out said it, that it is co-opted by white supremacists. And as a cop, we need to decide what's important to us. We're trying to serve a community, and this symbolism creates distrust. Because even though you don't mean it that way, we black people see that as a method of silencing. By not wearing these emblems no longer means that we don't think our lives matter. But if we want to engage with those people, we need to operate in good faith. That's basically what it was. But of course, I'm sure she'll get ripped for this shit. But good on her. What is her name? Shout her name out. It's a white woman. Where's her name? Chief Kristen Roman of the Wisconsin-Madison Police Department. University of Wisconsin-Madison Police Department. So, good on her. What's next? So, Biden let loose with a flurry of executive orders, largely, I think they were within the first 48 hours of his presidency, and most of them were aimed at just basically unfucking other executive orders enacted by Trump. Like I said, touched on last week, but not too much in depth, that people like Tariq Nasheed and other advocates who, claim, what about ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, Foundation of Black Americans, whatever you want to call them, us, saying that, hey, we need to, and again, I'm all for holding Biden and any other politician accountable from day one to work for the black vote that put him in office. But they were saying that none of this helps us, yada, 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 which is a fair complaint, but where he lost me was, he's helping the immigrants with your vote. I'm like, that's not gonna pay any fucking dividends right there. Like what are you talking about? Like, shitting on them, you go from demanding what's yours to begging for breadcrumbs, begging from scraps from the oppressor. Okay? The immigrants being taken care of, having their kids removed from cages, the moratorium on immigration is not going to affect whether or not we are able to hold them accountable for what we demand. Okay, so I that's where he lost me with that. But there were a couple of those executive orders that do directly benefit black people, black Americans, and stuff like that, and I thought I would highlight them. So, one of them is Executive Order 13985 as of January 20th, 2021, advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. There's a lot of meat and potatoes out of that one, but basically it's talking about the just equal opportunity for, housing credits, lending opportunities, higher education from federal grants and stuff like that through the federal government. So they're going to take more enriched and more energetic approaches to getting those resources to people who are historically underserved, black, brown people, minorities, and LGBTQ persons. Let me see here. Another one is revision of civil immigration enforcement policies. So we talked about that with, just doing an overhaul of immigration and basically stopping all the bullshit that Trump enabled, where the moratorium, the caging of people, how they pursue the warrants and everything. Like I said, that right there is not an attack on black America. There was one more. Did I close the window? A lot of it is geared towards COVID-19, enacting plans that were just not there, getting vaccines accessible to people. Oh, here's the main one. Reforming our incarceration system to eliminate the use of privately operated criminal detention facilities. What does that mean? No more for-profit prisons from government contracts. Take the business out of the prison industrial complex. Modern slavery. This one is Executive Order 14006 as of January 26th, 2021. More than 2 million people are, this is the section 1, more than 2 million people are currently incarcerated in the United States, including a disproportionate number of people of color. This is a broad consensus that our current system of mass incarceration imposes significant costs and hardships on our society and communities and does not make us safer. To decrease incarceration levels, we must reduce profit-based incentives to incarcerate by phasing out the federal government's reliance on privately owned criminal detention facilities. Basically taking out the financial incentive for throwing people in jail who don't need to be there and keeping them in jail, and inviting recidivism. Recidivism is when you get out of jail and you go right back. How is he going to do it? Contracts with privately operated criminal detention facilities shall not be renewed by the Department of Justice. General provisions. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or head thereof, and the functions of Director of Office Management and Budget. So basically saying that I'm not telling people how to administer their budgets for their prisons at their state and local levels and everything like that, but you will not use federal funds to pay contracts to private prisons. So that's major. And that directly helps foundational black Americans. It helps everybody but us. What's next? So I invite you guys to keep up on his executive orders and hold him to task. He's getting back into Paris peace accords and everything like that, and he's doing some things based on the census to basically ensure that the populace has proper representation in Congress and voting, which is only going to strengthen the Democratic base. But ask yourself, does strengthening the Democratic base help you? They are already talking about going to possibly packing the court. They haven't gotten there yet, but what they've done is they've established a commission to come back with findings on how best to affect the judiciary, meaning to add or remove justice numbers. So we'll see what happens with that. There have been more than the current 9 chief justices serving in the Supreme Court before, but it got reduced to 9. There's been less. So I'm sure that this will come up, and I think he gave them 120 days to come back with their recommendations, at which point that's when we'll see if he decides to go ahead and add seats to the Supreme Court. But in between there, 120 days is past his deadline where he said he's going to demand comprehensive gun control measures and common sense gun control. So we'll see what happens there, because the timing will be right in line with, if they get challenged, the Supreme Court will have to make a ruling on the constitutionality of that legislation or those executive orders. So we'll see. So, in Black Girl Magic on the Internet's news, so Chloe and Halle Bailey. Now, I'm 35, about to be 36 in 11 days, actually. Yeah, so shout out to me. But I met these little girls when they were like, I don't know. I knew they were children. I want to say 10, 11, and they were singing at award shows, and everybody was just blown away by how talented they were. Not only just as vocalists, but they were playing instruments. I think they made their own original music. And they were just adorable little girls. It was funny, though, because they were clearly made for the stage. Their mannerisms were kind of like grown-ass singers doing the most with their chins and everything, but it didn't matter because they could actually sing. Since then, they've continued going. They've had a few viral videos. Beyonce has taken them under their wing. I think they got signed to Disney. And I've always looked at them as little girls. Chloe, the older one, was born in 1998, and she's 22. And my baby sister is 21. So, yeah, whatever. Well, I don't know what happened. I don't know if Chloe got off some kind of contract or she just decided, I don't care, I'm 22. But she got her own Instagram and proceeded to get into the current challenges, the Busted Challenge and I don't think she did a silhouette challenge, but she definitely did a Busted Challenge. And I am perturbed because on the one hand, I've always known them as little girls in my brain, but now that's a grown-ass woman. And I am in that weird uncle phase now. I was like, does this make me a creep? Don't get me wrong, I'm fine with being a creep, but does this make me one of those creeps who's like, yeah, I don't know, but that's a grown, healthy young woman. Yeah. But I hate people because evidently they have, rather than just celebrating this woman that she's becoming celebrating, what are they doing? They're all in her mentions talking about she's letting down kids and all this other shit. Shut the fuck up, man. And then in continuing trash, some idiot has posted videos on how to, I guess, minimize or remove the filter that is applied for the silhouette challenge. So at face value, it's a red light with a blacked out person providing a silhouette, and the women are out there killing it, being sexy as hell. I guess some niggas got into it too, showing off the wee-wees, whatever. But somebody has, and whether or not it's a hack where they've broken TikTok's algorithm or something like that, or programming, or whether or not they just using their knowledge of the color wheel to impose other light that will negate the red light, they're trying to see features of the body that were hidden by the filter. Now, at face value, I'm pretty sure the only people that were getting full-on naked to do these silhouette challenges were, like, OnlyFansers or chicks that just already be naked on the internet, whatever. So, at the face value, the net violation isn't, the sum total of what was compromised probably wasn't out there. Meaning those titties are already on the internet. If they're getting revealed by the silhouette challenge, they were already out there. However, that doesn't speak to the issue of how utterly trash you have to be to go through all this. Let me get this straight, motherfucker. These women came on here to give a show for the masses, and all we had to do was sit there and watch, okay? And the whole point of this was not to be necessarily raunchy and pornographic, but just sexy, like, because a lot of you motherfuckers don't know what that means anymore. You watch too much porn, and don't get me wrong, I watch a fuck ton of porn, but, and I mean a fuck ton, my nigga. Look at my forearms. Y'all can't see it, but YouTube, yeah. Actually, I'm a lefty. Shout out to me. But anyway, but there's still something to be said for sensuality, for something to be said for allure, seduction. And the women were reminding us of that. And you don't have to be like an Instagram honey or whatever. You could just have a normal body and just be out there killing it. So what makes you weirdos want to go, oh no, let's see them naked? That tells only virgins, only people who scarcely ever see any vagina without having to pay for it or be a peeping Tom would even think to do this shit. And then who applies the energy to do so? And then what about boundaries has you motherfuckers so fucked up? Like, she showed you what she wanted to show you. The motherfuckers who would do this are the same dickheads who will go to a strip club and be handsy with a stripper. Like for no reason. The same motherfuckers who set up a fucking camera in a bathroom to get their jollies off women peeing and changing and stuff like that. Like, what the fuck? And you know, I can't say I'm surprised because niggas are trash. I can't say I'm surprised that niggas came on the internet to wag their fingers at women for, ha, you should have known better. Now you on she'sfreaky.com, whatever, you know, rather than check the men because that's too much like real manhood holding each other accountable. But what was sad to me was the women coming forward. And, you know, part of it is just indoctrination into the society that they're victims of. Just like we have coons who defend white supremacy, you have women who defend patriarchy and misogyny. But then you could also tell it wasn't even that deep. It was just a matter of, oh, I'm too shy, I'm too hurt, or, you know, why I'm a good Christian woman, why I don't have a man, but these hoes are winning. You know, some level of jealousy. And now they get to wag their finger, ha ha, that's why you out here, rather than recognize that this was just pure, unsolicited trash. And the same people who are wagging their finger at these women for participating in the challenge, just a week ago were upset about, or faking upset, about the woman in Harlem who got attacked by those goons, those fucking rabid animals, just because she didn't let them buy her wine. And but those are the same niggas. The nigga in the strip club who gets too handsy, the nigga who's setting up the camera, and those motherfuckers who think it's cool to attack a woman because she didn't comply with whatever bullshit they put on her. Those are the same types of motherfuckers. Just to varying degrees. Somebody's doing it through software, somebody's doing it through a camera, and somebody's doing it through assault. You're violating the autonomy of women. And what about that makes you feel like a man? I don't fucking know. But I do know doing that shit around me is an easy way to get an eye, Jamie. Like, I don't understand you niggas. Like, I honestly don't. So yeah, I hope everybody listening to this checks the motherfuckers in their sphere of influence, controls their experience by helping control, you know, a safe environment for our women. This is just trash, man. All the porn on the internet, but you want to go and, I don't know. Where are we at? Oh yeah, Wendy Williams, old Bullwinkle Moose looking ass. So she done came. And I understand she's the gossip queen, all right. But I've long waited for somebody to fuck her up, like, cause she is violated on several fronts, and I know that if I was famous and in her mouth, we'd have a problem. But evidently, she started reminiscing, and I found out later that I guess she's got some kind of biopic or documentary on Lifetime or something. So it's no surprise that she did this right before that dropped. But she started reminiscing about a time where evidently, according to her and Method Man of the illustrious Wu-Tang Clan back in the day had a one-night stand. And my thing is like, you know, we just killed Bow Wow for talking on this. In that live with Keisha Cole, we went in on fucking Young Berg, aka Hitmaker, for talking about how he is smashing Naturi Naughton like she ain't unsolicited on Drink Champs. But here this bitch go. Just for what? And what makes it even more sick is that this ain't the first time she violated with Meth. Like, when Meth's wife was going through chemo and nobody knew, not even members of their own family knew that she was fighting cancer, Wendy Williams blabbed it to the world. So members of her own family had to find out that she was near death. And Method Man went in on her. And right there I would have beat her ass, like, honestly and truly. But they are known enemies. This was years ago. Why is his name still in your mouth? Like, and this is my thing, like, this is what happens when you let everybody's, oh, the bigger person, we go high when they go low, non-violence. No, this is why I say violence absolutely solves problems. It shouldn't be the only tool, it shouldn't be the first tool, but it's a tool in the toolbox. And some niggas just need to get the fucking beat up. Like what the fuck, dude? Like, and then you got the women on here, why y'all acting like Wendy's subhuman? It's her story to tell. Like, first of all, we understand that Method Man smashed her back in the day before she looked like the mutant that she is now, and then people are stretching it. Oh, she was a joint back then. No, she was normal back then. She was adequate. She was far from a joint, especially for like I wouldn't even go at her, let alone one of the niggas of the Killer Bees. You know, all the chicks that they could have took down. So that was not a point. You know what I mean? But oh, it's her right to tell the story. You know what? It is. Nobody's saying that she violated his rights. But y'all don't keep that same energy for the men when we do it. And this is even more tacky when there's a wife, a family involved, and everything. And then there's already hostility. There's already bad blood. This wasn't like the first transgression. She knows that he don't fuck with her. Why? Why? Other than to try to pump her little stupid biopic. And some people saying like she must be obsessed with the boy, and you know a lot of women love Method Man, so I wouldn't be surprised there. But and he ain't said shit about it, so that leads me to believe it's true. But he's also trying to like not do what my inclination would be to do, to have somebody go see this bitch about it. But yeah, man, that's she need an ass whoop and some therapy, a therapeutic ass whoop. Make it happen. Talked about the Silhouette Challenge. There was a second police officer who has killed himself, believed to be in connection with the insurrection / riots that occurred on January 6th at the Capitol. Let me see if I can get his name. Suicide after Capitol riots. Here we go. Second officer from Capitol riot dies by suicide. I don't know if he left a note. I don't know how they're linking this back to him. But Chief Robert G. Conti of the Metropolitan Police Department, so not the Capitol Police. And you gotta understand, DC has so many different police departments, but the Metropolitan DC Metro Police. The officer Jeffrey Smith, a 12-year veteran of the Metro Police Department, had killed himself recently. Another officer, Howard Liebengood, that's the one who died, who killed himself 3 days after the attack. Yeah, no word of a note or anything, but if you count the cop who actually died of injuries from the attack, and then these two, that's 3 cops at the feet of the so-called MAGA crowd, the Blue Lives Matter crowd, the Law and Order, Make America Great Again. 3 cops dead. Black Lives Matter ain't killed nobody. So, yeah, fuck them. Now, but then I got into my conspiracy theory bag, because I'm like, okay, he could have died because of PTSD from the incident. He could have died because cops are being blamed for their inadequate response. Or was he killed to cover up something? Was he killed because he had insider knowledge of why the police were told to stand down, why they had such a weak posture, why they waved some of the protesters into the Capitol? Somebody asked Hillary Clinton, we know too much. No, it's not. The truth is out there. That's what Mulder from the X-Files used to say. What else? Alright, so I want to go into this GameStop situation and wrap it up with that. I'm going to give you a very base understanding because, one, that's all I do. I don't play the stock market. I don't really understand it, and I don't really have the disposable income to just be playing with it, but I also realize that that's how you get the disposable income, is playing the stock market. But I really just don't put enough time and effort into it. Like I said, I decided to change my investing by starting it in cryptocurrency. One, to prevent from the volatility that has been displayed by the stock market, but two, because I feel like it's the future. But for those of you who do play the stock market, and for those of you who are thinking about it or just want to know what the fuck is going on with the conversation of everything that's happening right now, I did some research, and I'm going to explain it to you as best I can. First, I'm going to start with defining what a stock is. Okay, so all a stock is a theoretical piece of ownership into a company. Okay, so if you start a lemonade stand, you own that lemonade stand. Okay, and because you own it, you're paying all of the bills. You're paying for the sugar, the lemons, the water, the permit to sell it, whatever it may be, all the overhead. Okay, but maybe you don't have enough money to fully start a self-sustaining business, or to the scale that you want to. Maybe you're a stand, but you want to get into a storefront or something like that, and you want to raise capital, and you can or don't want to get a loan. or anything like that. So what you do is you go to take on investors. Now, yeah, an investor could just hand you money in exchange for X amount of ownership, uh, or you can become publicly traded so that other people can buy into your company, thus generating operational capital for you to do whatever it is. And that's where companies get on the stock. Why companies get on the stock market? Stock market. Okay. So for every time you buy a stock, you are buying a piece of ownership of that company. All right. Now your fate is directly tied to the success of that company. When the company does well, the stock becomes more valuable because the company is more valuable. So if you bought in on the ground floor at a very cheap price and it goes up, you've made a lot of money. See the people who bought into Apple and Facebook, they won. And that's typically how most people get introduced to the stock market. They say you buy stocks when they're low and you sell when they're high. So what that requires is, at the best case scenario, is a lot of time and effort researching stock trends, product trends, new technologies and stuff like that. What companies you think are leading the way to it. Everything short of insider trading, which you have to be an insider to insider trade, but just keeping your finger to the pulse. Like, I can honestly say that if I had disposable money when Facebook first went public, I absolutely would have bought it, just because of the virtue of how it's put me in contact with baddies that I've never met from across the country. So I know somebody was going to be able to sell stuff through this, but I was broke when Facebook went public, so here we are. So now that we know what a stock is, all right, like I said, the traditional model for people when they get in is buy low, sell high. Meaning, if you bought something for $5 and you could sell it for $20, you just flipped it, right? Everybody understands that concept. But there is a way to make money when the stocks go down, okay? It's called shorting. Now, most of the time, the real people who take advantage of shorting are Wall Street, big money, rich people, billionaires, corporations, and stuff. And how they do it is that they participate into hedge funds. What a hedge fund is a pool of money that is not taxed by the SEC, which means that the hedge fund manager can put that money wherever they want as they see fit. But because they're not regulated by the SEC, they can't take in money from outside sources. Once the hedge fund is formed, that's it. And where do they get their money from? They have to get their money from large investors like billionaires, people with high net worth, companies. Sometimes companies will leverage the company executive will leverage the pension fund of their company into it, so that it'll boost up a hedge fund, with the theory that if the hedge fund manager does their job right, that large amount of money will be able to generate a lot more money, and then that money will go back and raise the value of their company's pension. Of course, we've seen things like with Bernie Madoff, aka the Wolf of Wall Street. When they get shorted, people lose everything, and then they get bailed out with or with the way that the American auto industry was failing and not reporting the proper value of the shares and everything, and then they needed to get bailed out, but workers lost everything. So ever since the inception of this country, hedge funds have been getting over. Not only because they're able to pull resources with such economic power that they can literally dictate the market and almost always are guaranteed to win, whether or not their company is doing well and the stock raises price, or if another company is doing poorly, they can cash in on that. But it's also gotten to the point with hostile takeovers and everything like that, where they can almost kill a company arbitrarily. It's not like they're looking at, a savvy person is looking at a company that's already failing and saying, hey, this is an opportunity to short this stock before it goes completely kaput and make some money off of it. No, it'll get to the point where these hedge fund guys, with their insider training, with their insider information, will cause an artificial rift in the market so that they will drive the price of a stock down, forcing that company into bankruptcy. It's happened plenty of times. And you can do that when you have billions of dollars at your disposal. So where Gamestop comes in is, anybody who's who's into gaming at all, or buying games for people, knows that GameStop is some hoax. They don't give you value back for your trades and everything like that, and they want to charge top dollar for other shit. Nobody really likes GameStop. Okay, and how they're still in business, I don't fucking know. But hedge funds are trying to cash in on it. They saw a failing business that's on its last legs, so rather than let it fail normally, what they did was they shorted the stock. Okay, how shorting works, and keep in mind, you don't necessarily have to be a billionaire to short stock. The average person can theoretically short stock, but obviously you're not going to have a hedge fund with billions of dollars. What you're going to have is called a margin account. So if you're a person and you want to short stock, what would happen is you would go to your brokerage and say, hey, I want to short the stock of such and such company. Okay, well, you're not your broker's only client. He has other clients that have stock in that company that you want to short. So what your broker is going to do is he's going to go to his other clients who have stock in a company that you want to short, and he's going to let you sell their stock. So let's say the stock is worth $10. Okay, that's not your stock, but he's going to let you play with it. You're going to sell it, thereby making $10, but that's not your money, right? But if the stock continues to tumble, theoretically, you can buy that stock back for $2 and sell it and give it back to the person that you borrowed it for. So you've made money playing with their stocks off that exchange. If you bought it for $10, if you sold it for $10 when it wasn't yours, so you have $10 in your pocket, but you still owe that man the stock, and then you go back into the market and you buy it for $2, you give that $2 stock back to its original owner, but you've made money on that $8 difference that it tumbled. But if that stock goes up after you bought it at 10, and then you can't go get it back for your $10 or less, you now have to pay $12, $15, $20, you're going to take a loss because that person wants their stock back. That's why you have the margin account to cover that difference, because there's risk in that. And if you get really hosed, if the stock skyrockets, you're going to bust your margin account and you have to come up with that money. That's what's happening with Gamestop stock and the hedge funds, because the Reddit group, the Wall Street Bets group, drove that stock up way up, that all that money in that hedge fund has to go to the new owners of the stock. That's where we are. But that's why you have to have money in your marginal account, because if it doesn't plummet like you think it's going to, or God forbid it goes back up, you still owe that money back to the person you borrowed the stock from, or you're gonna lose out on your shorts. So with these hedge funds, you can see why it's a lot easier for them to do it, because they have billions of dollars to do it. So they can do this on a large scale and do a bunch of sell-offs, and to everybody else in the market says, oh, those billionaires know something we don't know. Sell that stock immediately, and it's going to crash, and you're helping them out. Okay, but what happens a lot of times is they want that to happen and guarantee it happening to keep it from rebounding on them. So they will short it even further than the available money that they had in their hedge fund, which is a no-no. Because if they short it and they overextend what they have in their fund just in case it bounces back, if that price goes up, they are fucked. They are out of all of that money. So enter Reddit. Reddit, the bastard love child of 4chan, has a group on their subreddit called Wall Street Bets, which is estimated to be around 4 million members, where there's a lot of people on there who are very in tune with the stock market. They identify these companies, not only that are ones that are available to be shorted, but where hedge fund managers have overextended their shorts. So that's where they jumped in on this. That they said, hey, if we make a mad rush on this GameStop stock that has been shorted, and how they know it's been shorted, I don't know if that's publicly traded or publicly released information. I have no idea. But if they drive this the stock price up when the hedge funds are trying to drive it down, the hedge funds have to pay all that money in their hedge fund out to everybody who owns the stock to cover the loss of it being shorted. So let's buy all this stuff. And now that you have 4 million people that can do it, they can screw over the hedge funds. That's what's happened here. I hope that was clear. I know I dirked it up with the math and everything, but just think of it as you're borrowing somebody's stock that's worth X amount of money. All right, you're buying from them, and then you sold it. You're making money off the transaction because you're going to buy that stock back at some point for a loss. For a gain, and then sell it back to the person you borrowed it for in the first place. But you get to keep the difference. That's if your shorting is successful and the stock falls to the basement. But if it goes back up, you're screwed. And that's what happened. Mostly, like I said, the average trader is not doing this. But it's a way to make money not only when stocks are going up, but going down. But the shorting is risky because it could rebound on you. So, of course, the hedge fund guys, they're playing with billionaires' money, they're playing with corporations' money, they're playing with pensions' money. They don't like that risk, so they try to manipulate the market. Well, this time, people have banded together to do it back to them. And the real controversy is Robinhood, which is ironic because, you know, the symbolism of Robinhood, somebody who robbed from the rich to give to the poor, they halted trading so that the price could go back down to help the hedge fund reload their shorts so that they wouldn't take the loss. So now there's a class action lawsuit against Robinhood for allowing the hedge funders to do this, because nobody does that when the little guy loses all their money on the stock market. So it's going to set a precedent. Who knows what's going to happen with this suit? Who knows if the federal government's going to come and hold people liable for this shit? But I commend anybody who is going out there trying to make anything happen. Right now, you know, people are losing their livelihoods, their ability to put the food on the table. They're trying to make something out of nothing. I'm not mad at you. Now is not a time to necessarily, you know, overextend yourself. But I'm not here to lecture you. I see a lot of black people on my Facebook say, "Oh, that's what you get. You lost money." Woo 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 woo. But losing sight of the big package that even if they lost money, the point is here is they're trying to set it up a precedent so that the little guy can fight back against Wall Street, who gets rich regardless of the economy's doing well or if it doesn't. The billionaires get richer. So there's black people who are you know, happy that they avoided this whole situation, or they might have even made money on the GameStop, but they got out quick enough before Robinhood stopped the trading. So they think you know, their ego stroke. Oh, I told you I don't play with them people's money. You think they're gonna let you win and everything like that? But that's not the point. It's the argument here is that it's the same thing as, you know, we know that the United States is racist. Does that mean we just let it happen because that's how it's supposed to, or are you supposed to fight against it? That's what's happening here. So anybody who's in the stock market who's doing this, be careful, man. Like, because I don't want to see you guys, you know, assed out in the street over it. But I respect what you're doing. I'm not gonna do it just because I'm not gonna dedicate enough time to it. I'm getting into crypto. I've already put $600 worth of assets into Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. I'm still exploring what other types of crypto I can get into. But yeah, that's the sum total of my investment strategy. Unless somebody can convince me to pay attention to these short squeezes. But yeah, we'll see how that plans. I think I honestly don't know what the resolution is. I guess we have to wait till the market opens tomorrow on Monday, January 1st, to see what's going to happen here. But I do know that there's a class action suit against Robinhood. The CEO of Robinhood went on Chris Cuomo, and Cuomo was grilling his ass, and he looked shook. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if Wall Street, you know, because they didn't want Robinhood up there in the first place, because I guess they were making it a lot easier for average people to trade without fees and all this other stuff, without brokerages. So I'm sure that Wall Street will leave them thrown under the bus if it means that they can protect the rest of the hedge fund managers who do this shit. But I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I'm not a stock guy. Yeah, real quick, because like I said, the previous episode came in the middle of the week, or Monday, Tuesday. Was not feeling well last weekend, but I hope this one finds you guys in good spirits again. You know, the show's nothing without you guys. To my 20 or so people who are holding strong and faithful, listening to me ramble on the internet, I fucks with you the long way. Yeah, let me know what you guys want to talk about, because I'm basically just rehashing my Facebook feed as long as I'm not in Facebook jail. Again, hit me up on Insta, Facebook, Twitter. All the tags and everything are in the description. If you want to fuck with me, fuck with me. But until next week, man, y'all take it easy.